All right, hello, this is Wmpyr. I want to make this a comprehensive video on shin conditioning. Before I get into that, you may have noticed that the way that I have been talking has changed recently. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to talk softer and a little bit slower. Why? It's very easy for me to get passionate, raise my voice, and it's not quite yelling at the camera. I'm trying to project my voice, but I'm also excited, passionate about this subject. I mean, all the martial arts stuff. So I tend to, it's like in between yelling and lecturing somebody. And I don't like it when that's done to me, so I'm not going to do it to you guys. I've noticed that, and I'm going to improve upon that. I'm going to fix myself. And to me, that is the greatest thing about martial arts is that you self-analyze yourself and you can change it through discipline and practice. So, yeah, this is me using martial arts, but in my, you know, everyday life or my normal life. Okay, so uh, you can change yourself through martial arts, is what I'm saying. And if you can change yourself, that's how you're going to interact with your environment, and it'll change your environment. So it's kind of like the manifestation thing. Okay, so let's talk about shin conditioning. I said to you guys that back in the day, 1990, when I learned Muay Thai from a foreign exchange student from Thailand, this dude changed my life. And I said 90% of it was shin conditioning. Okay, the technical stuff, at least for me, it started to come naturally later. And as I did challenge matches, I had developed techniques. I guess I was thinking about it a lot because when you actually fight, you don't want to lose, so you're going to get creative, some of us, or most of us, hopefully. And so I did. And I was maybe a lot more technical than someone might think. I remember, like, um, I would do a Muay Thai kick, and if they had the skill to check it, then now as you're, you when you check it, you raise your leg, but then you have to bring it down. No one just leaves it up. So when you bring it down, I time it and I kick you. Now I get you in the thigh, and so that's in Filipino martial arts what we call a half beat. So before you realize, so I threw the full kick, you block that. And then as you're bringing down the leg, I threw another one real quick, and that is the half beat count. And that happens is as you're bringing your foot down, I'm already launching, and by the time it lands and your weight's on it, my kick is boom. It's perfect timing kind of thing. And another thing I was doing was if you go to check it, once I see the angle, now I can change the angle, and even though you're raising it like that, I still nail you in the thigh because I changed the angle. I know where your thigh is going to be when you raise the leg, so I'm aiming for that. I'm not aiming for where your leg is right now, where where you're standing. I'm aiming for, I already imagine and I already know where it's going to be, so I'm aiming there. There were other things like when someone threw a Muay Thai kick at me, I'm taking it with my shin, which is basically a destruction. I was doing destructions way before I knew about it from the Filipino martial arts, but I mean, this this is because I had Filipino martial arts training. When you transfer defang the snake and all that to empty hands is what I was doing, it naturally shows up. And but in this case, it was the Thai boxing um, techniques mixed with the Filipino martial arts concept. So, I was just defanging the snake, but with my legs. And so, someone were to throw a leg kick at me, I'm aiming for the smallest part of your shin, the lower right in front of the foot, by the ankle. I'm aiming for that with the biggest, thickest part of my shin that's by the knee. So I'm trying to land that in there. And I think when I finally did see the Jeet Kune Do destruction, it wasn't too long after that, but I believe it was the Randy Couture and Maurice Smith fight, maybe in that one. Randy Couture trained with a Jeet Kune Do guy for his striking skills to go up against Maurice Smith. And they fought in Japan, in Tokyo, I believe. And Maurice Smith, I think, was the champion. And in that match, it was very close, very competitive, but Randy Couture won that one. And he was using destructions because he had a Jeet Kune Do coach for his stand-up striking. And I think he mentioned this destruction, but I believe also with the leg. You're kneeing the guy's low kick. What I was doing was I was using the knee and the entire shin, so I just had a much more bigger target for me to utilize than to just use the knee. So I kind of felt like I was Jeet Kune Do technique wise, I was more ahead in that sense, but that also requires that you condition your shins, and I was confident in that. And another thing I did was if you did throw a leg kick and I check it like this, you could keep your foot up and you can catch their kick. So when you catch it, from there you could actually grab. But I wasn't doing that. I was kicking their leg back. So as their leg went back, I could make it return to where they spread their legs more, and then from there I could do an inside leg kick, where I'm kicking them not from the outside but from the inside. It just opened up more opportunities for me. So there were just techniques like that just came natural. But the important thing is those techniques came from actually fighting. So they're, at least for me, they were battle tested. They worked for me because I was using them. I developed them and I used them. Not to say that a Muay Thai fighter wouldn't, because they would. Absolutely, that's how you develop your stuff, and they would have done the same thing. They would have done a lot more than me because that's their career. But so what I'm trying to say is condition your shins first. The techniques will come. And I feel like people have it backwards today, where they learn the techniques first, and then you'll find that most of those you can't even apply. So all that time you spent cherry picking techniques, it would have been better off if you had just been conditioning your shins. Another thing is, I was bullied in junior high and high school, so me doing the Muay Thai training really helped scare off the bullies, because I would demonstrate. So you demonstrate. I would kick metal poles at the school right in front of them, and they would see that. They would see me doing that, and they'd be like, whoa. And I'm sure they tried it, and then they saw how painful it was. So then their respect for me, whether they like it or not, goes up. And they go, maybe it's not a good idea to mess with this guy, at least one-on-one, because there's a chance now I could lose. They start thinking like that, and I'm in their head. I'm already winning the battle now, right? Psychologically. And I haven't even done anything. So that is the art of fighting without fighting, what Bruce Lee talked about. Another thing was I was in the tennis team, which was considered, a bunch of sissies by the people who were playing football or, whatever. They viewed us that way. But at the end of the day, you try to jump me, I got a tennis racket. And I do Filipino martial arts. They didn't know that, but I do Filipino martial arts. I mean, tennis racket that's a stick in my hand. So I was pretty confident there. And then I would use the tennis racket. I would take the cover off, and I would bang my shins in front of them all the time. So I'm getting shin conditioning training on a regular basis, but I'm also demonstrating constantly, reminding them that I am a scary guy. You don't want to mess with me. So the other thing is, I'm telling you guys how important the shin conditioning is, right? And you might go, well, okay, that's great. How do you use it? Well, of course, you can Thai box the bully, but this is what I expect. They go to shove you, they go to punch you or something. And when they do, you do your best to move out of the way. And then you're going to kick him in their shin with your shin. So it's not the typical Thai boxing where you're kicking them in the thigh. Because you've been doing the shin conditioning, you kick him in the shin. So it's basically a trip. You're tripping them, but you're kicking them in the leg. When you do, you're going to see some big dudes fall. So you just make sure you move out of the way. They're probably going to want to grab something when they fall. So you got to let them fall on their own. So boom, like this. And the kick right on their leg. And I've done this to people much, much heavier than me. I've done it by accident. I've done it while we're playing basketball. People were being a little bit more aggressive than they should have, and they tackled me in basketball, and they paid the price. Same with soccer. I've had dudes, no one's wearing shin guards because we're just supposed to be playing recreationally, but some people just start getting rowdy. It's almost like they want to fight, but they're in your face, take that, and I'm like, it's just the game. But, they suddenly become super macho, and they ran into my shin, is the way that I put it, and I see them downed and in pain. And I'm like, oh, are you okay? And I'm like, why'd you run into me? So, anyway, the main thing is condition your shins, right? How? How do you condition them? There's two ways. And by the way, my student over in Japan, he just asked me, he said, how did you do it back in the day? So I'm telling him, and he's had Muay Thai training, way more than me actually, but I guess his gym, or maybe the newer generation, it's a little different. What I learned was very old school. So the two types of shin conditioning, number one is you're going to hit your shin with something. And number two is you're going to use your shin to kick something. Okay, so the first one, you need both. Okay, don't do just one and think that's all it needs. Do both. So get something like a stick, or it could be a glass bottle, okay, and something that you could pick up, and then you're just gonna light taps, not hard, okay. But the important thing about this is to go the full length, up and down, and don't miss an area. Make sure you cover the entire length. But remember, not hard. Super important. um, so it's you're doing a ton of tapping, and through a ton of tapping like that, it's going to get stronger. It's kind of like if you watch somebody that they own a motorcycle and they use the motorcycle for um, uh, daily transportation, right? So that they're on the motorcycle every day. You look at their forearms and their grip strength is going to be stronger than a normal person because they do it all the time. Okay. Same with like someone that is uh, a sushi chef or someone like that. They're going to have stronger forearms, or someone that plays tennis all the time. You know, it's kind of like that. You can't beat the daily training, even though they don't even consider it training. The daily usage, you can't beat that. So if that's what you're aiming for with that kind of training, is you're not doing a lot, but you're doing it constantly all the time. Okay. And the part of the shin is you're aiming for the top bone part. Okay. Not the flat side, because you don't want fractures in there. You don't want to break it. So make sure it's the top, the very top, not the flat. The top, and then the muscles over here. So you can aim for this side. Okay. A cheat, some people will just develop the muscle. But, what I'm recommending is the bone, okay, and not the flat side, all right? So that's super important. I heard about one dude, I never seen it or met the guy, but he was a musician and he used drumsticks, is what they told me, on his shins every day to practice his music. But because of that, his shins became ultra hard, even though he's not into martial arts, can't fight, none of that. But he got the side benefit there. He would have been that would have been good for his Muay Thai training, but he didn't do it. So anyway, that's one. Number two is you kicking something. Okay, this could be the leg of a table. This could be a pillar. This could be uh, what is it called? A telephone pole. It could be, anything like that. Remember, if it's like a tree and it has rough barks, you could rip and tear your skin. So, not recommended. Although, if you do this well enough, you'll get to the point where you can kick a heavy bark tree, like where it's almost like alligator skin, and you won't tear. You could kick the corner of a wall, the corner, and you won't bleed, you won't cut. You just get to that level. I'm not at that level anymore, but I was there for sure. So anyway, you could definitely get to that level. I remember one time I was running up these marble stairs and I slipped, and my shin, bam, ran into one of the one of the steps, and it was sharp and it was marble. And I remember being completely fine. And I remember thinking, if I hadn't done the Thai training, I would have been on the floor right now in pain. But thanks to that, I just kept going. So, anyhow, when you actually kick something, you're not going to get the complete training where you could, like I said, with the other one where you're tapping it with something, you could make sure you don't miss not even a fraction of an inch, right? When you're actually kicking something, that's hard to do, and that's not the goal. It's more like you're learning how to kick, but how to kick with your shins, and at the same time you're conditioning your shins. When you do that, I mean, you could even do it with this. Just have this down like this, like dangle it and kick it, okay? So that's a completely different than doing this. Okay, I think you guys can totally see that. But the kicking part is also very important. And like I said to you guys before, know that the higher up on the shin, the stronger the shin bone. The closer to the knee, the stronger. The closer to the foot, the weaker. So where you want to be aiming for the most is with closer to the knee. So that's why I remember my Muay Thai coach, that guy that I told you guys about, the foreign exchange student. He said to me, when I asked him, what's the strongest technique, the most powerful technique in Muay Thai? And he thought about it, and he really wanted to say elbow. And he even told me at least once a year back in the day, at least one fighter would die from an elbow, and it would like accidentally land on the back of the neck. And he says elbows are devastating, but he said, no, it's the knees. And I believe this explains why. Okay, so the closer up, the higher up you get on the shin, the closer to the knee, the more powerful. That means the knee, which is the last part there, the most powerful. Okay, but the lower you get on the leg, yeah, it's fast. You could get a whip-like action. You do amazing stuff. But at the end of the day, I'd say, go higher up on the shin, and keep that in mind as you practice kicking. Okay, yeah, because of reach and stuff, sometimes you can't. You don't want to get close. They're swinging, so you got to dodge that and land the kick. So sometimes you can't. And there are plenty of Muay Thai fighters that kick with the foot rather than the shin. Um, but a lot of people, human beings, their weakness is the shin. The shin is a weak spot, and making yours really strong, and you being able to use that as a weapon against them. And that's exactly what I was doing during that time. It was very, very effective. So, yeah, I'd recommend that to you guys. I know a lot of people want to copy Thai fighters, and they want to copy MMA guys, and they start kicking the thigh, that is very effective. Try kicking the shin. So that's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.